Thank you, fellow Republicans. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you, friend. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's good to be amongst winners. The Republican Party, Florida, wins. We win because we're united. We win because we believe in conservative principles and we apply them consistently. We elect principle-centered leaders as governors and speakers and presidents and people like Jeff Atwater as a CFO, and they do their jobs, and people like it. And even though there are more Democrats in this state than Republicans, we win. And I'm proud of that. And talking about winning, I want to win this election in November of 2016 to restore America's greatness again. That's what we need to do. We need to have a candidate that has a proven record, a candidate that has a proven record that has applied conservative principles to lift people up in a way that people can see. A candidate not from Washington, but from the practical world. 32 years in business, you're starting to get a sense I'm tooting my own horn here. 32 years in business and 8 years as a reform-minded governor. I believe that is the kind of record to take on Hillary Clinton. Hillary was a United States Senator for 8 years. You know how many bills she sponsored that became law? 3. Renaming a highway, naming a post office, and naming a monument. Compare that to a record of taking on very powerful interests. Together, we took on the teachers union, and we won, creating the first statewide voucher program in the country. I was in Michigan yesterday at Grand Rapids, and it reminded me of the time when I was running for re-election because we took on the public unions in this state long before there was all sorts of controversies, and we changed our career civil service system where you can fire someone for cause in public life. I know that sounds punitive, but the fact is government workers now work better because there's a consequence if they don't work, just like it is in the private sector. And I was reminded in Michigan simply because they had 2,000 or 3,000 AFSCME members from Michigan to come down and campaign to take me out in my re-election. The teachers union, you may remember, also did the same thing, supporting my opponent to try to take me out. Well, we won. We won in a landslide, and it validated this belief that we need to fix these few big complex things so people can rise up. If you want a talker, maybe I'm not the guy. But if you want a doer, someone that's done it, someone that's taken on the tough challenges, I am your candidate. And we need to desperately win so that we can change the culture in Washington, D.C. In Washington, you have lobbyists that have total say on how things work. The most convoluted tax code in the world. A president who defies Congress and uses executive powers he doesn't have to try to create his own agenda without any dialogue with anybody that doesn't agree with him. In Washington, you have gridlock where nothing happens. Even when they agree, they can't make it happen. We need to have people from outside of Washington to go there with a concrete agenda to fix things. And here's my agenda. I will fight for a balanced budget amendment so that Washington learns to live within its means just as Tallahassee does and just as our families do. I will propose a 6-year lobbying ban for elected officials when they leave office, not to go around the back door and start lobbying their peers, but let them come home and start working in the community again. I will propose a version of the line item veto power so Vito Corleone can go to Washington, D.C. and bring order and discipline to a budget that is out of control. I believe we can do these things. I will freeze federal employment so that we reduce the government workforce just as we did in Florida. 11% reduction in the state government workforce, but 1.3 million jobs were created during my time. And I will propose tax reform in a way that will lower taxes for people. A month ago, I had a chance to visit with Jonathan and Reagan Love. Jonathan is serving in the National Guard, deployed to Oklahoma. Reagan Love, I love that name. Reagan Love is a teacher, and their total taxes under my plan of reducing taxes for everybody, they would save $2,300. They already know what they're going to do with that money. They're going to build a business. Today in America, because of the oppressive rules that Hillary Clinton thinks is deserving of an A grade, more businesses are closing than being formed. In Florida, we led the nation in small business creation each and every year I was governor. We can restore America's greatness by shifting the power back away from Washington, D.C. and lowering our taxes so that Jonathan and Reagan can dream the biggest possible dream. This is not about the big personalities on the stage. This is about the Loves and others that desperately want to be able to live their lives the way they want to. Cutting taxes and reforming regulations will create a boom of investment in this country, creating high-wage jobs. Hillary is wrong. She grades on the curve, apparently, when she says President Obama is deserving of an A. Think about it. 1 in 7 people are living in poverty today. 6 million more people living in poverty than the day that Barack Obama was sworn into office. 1 in 10 people have either are unemployed or have given up looking for work altogether. 1 in 5 children is on food stamps. That is not an A record. That is a sorry state of affairs that we need to reverse. And when we get it right, embracing our energy revolution, focusing on regulation by shifting power back to communities and to states, a tax code that creates hundreds of billions of dollars of investment in our own country will grow our way back to prosperity. We'll become an economic superpower. This country still has the ability to outcompete anybody, anywhere, anytime. If we grow our economy at a fast rate, which I believe we can do, and you should reject this whole idea of the new normal being 2% growth. That's what the left wants us to believe, because the left wants us to get in line, in effect. President Obama and Hillary Clinton, effectively what they say is, it's kind of over. The great American experiment is over. We're not going to grow at a rate. We're going to have to become more dependent upon government. We reject that, we'll grow, but the only way we will grow our economy is also to create a safe and secure America. And this president is the first president in the post-World War II era that truly believes that America's leadership in the world is not a force for good. Mr. President, you're wrong on this one. You're wrong on this one. America has to lead. We see what happens when we have a president that speaks with great grandiosity, trash talks, calls Russia a regional power, and 30 days later allows them to invade a neighboring country, Ukraine, or creates the big talk of the red line and then never follows up, brags about the reset button, and the Russians are laughing all the way to the bank, calls ISIS a JV team, and allows in short order the creation of a caliphate the size of Indiana with 30 to 40,000 battle-tested Islamic terrorists organized to destroy Western civilization. Mr. President, when we pull back, voids are filled. And they're filled by these asymmetric threats of terror that you will not recognize, and they're filled by nation states that see our weakness and sense the opportunity to aggressively pursue their agendas. Should I be President of the United States, I'll promise you I won't be a divider-in-chief. I won't be an agitator-in-chief. I'll be a commander-in-chief, because that's what we need. We need to restore our military, create a 21st century strategy, reconstruct the counterintelligence and intelligence capabilities, respect the military by making sure our Veterans Administration is much better than it is today. It is a tragedy in this week where we're celebrating Veterans Day that $142 million of bonuses to veterans employees were given out while they reduced waiting lists by not giving care. And people died. And 3 people were fired because of this outrageous behavior. I promise you, as President of the United States, I will fix the Veterans Administration, just as we did together in departments in Tallahassee. There is a big difference between our philosophy, at least the conservative philosophy that I hope you believe in, which is a hopeful, optimistic one. that believes in individual responsibility and individual liberty, and all of us acting together in a free society, creating more prosperity and more benefits than any government program ever created. That's an optimistic message. We're on the verge of greatness in this country. The ability to discover cures for disease, the ability to innovate in a way that is just mind-boggling. But we have to fix these few big complex things, and we need to advance this positive message so that people have hope again. Here's what I believe. I believe that life is a gift from God, that it is divinely inspired from beginning to end, that people aren't liabilities. They don't need to have their lives managed because they're not capable of living their lives of purpose and meaning. Everybody has a chance to make a difference in our society. Republicans will win if we embrace that philosophy that everybody's an asset, not a liability. The left believes that people are liabilities and that we have to get in line, that they'll take care of us. That's not how it works. In 1998, I was a candidate, and thank you for your support. I went to visit 250 schools. I wandered around to listen and learn. Leadership traits, by the way, that are grossly underestimated in the world we're in today, where you got to be the big guy on the stage and talk trash and talk in a way that disparages people. Listening and learning is the way that you lead. So I was in a town hall meeting, and a friend of mine, Bertha Aponte, who was not a Republican then, angrily kind of challenged me by saying, "You don't care about my family. You don't care about my child. You don't care about Luz." At the time, she was 15 years old. She couldn't talk. She couldn't walk. She was living in a wheelchair. She had a 50 IQ. She was autistic. She had huge challenges physically. And Bertha challenged me by saying I didn't care. And I couldn't convince her. I don't know if you've been in these kind of circumstances. You use humor. You try to connect. It just didn't work. This woman was on fire for her child. And so I said, "Bertha, I haven't met you. You don't know if I don't care. Tell you what, why don't you teach me? I'll be your student. You be the teacher." And she took me up on it. And we went to visit group homes where I saw people treated with dignity and respect. We went to institutional care where it was very expensive, but not so warm in terms of the treatment. Young people were being warehoused. We went to places of employment where we saw people with different abilities lighting up the office, where employees that were different saw these people now in a different light. They saw people with different abilities as a gift from God, in essence. And it brought joy to the workforce, and their customers liked it as well. This whole experience transformed my thinking and validated my belief that life is a gift from God. So I got elected. Thank you very much. In the very first week, a federal judge summoned me to Miami, Florida to say, "I'm taking over the programs for the developmentally disabled." First of all, I didn't know that could happen. I was young in the job. Now I know the federal judges and the federal government loves to take over everything, which we're going to fight and make sure it never happens. And so I promised that we would if he could give me 6 months, I would transform these programs, and I did. And we went to the legislature in a partnership. We transformed the programs, we funded them, and 31,000 families got their loved one off a waiting list. 31,000 families. Here's the deal. If you truly believe that people are assets, then we need to lift them up. We need to make sure that they have the capacity to achieve earned success, because every life matters. Every person matters. Everybody has a contribution to make. And I'm a conservative Republican that believes that in my heart. The most vulnerable in our society need to be in the front of the line, not the back of the line. Those that have already made it, they'll do fine. In fact, they could do better with a little less government. Those that are desperately needing the help to be lifted up so they can live a life of purpose and meaning, we need to be on their side. Bertha Aponte is now a Republican. So is Luz, and so is Milton. We're going to win elections if we're on the side of people that want to be lifted up. I'll close with the following story. This last year, I met Denisha Merriweather. She's from Jacksonville. She's living in Tampa right now. Denisha grew up in North Jacksonville in a tough neighborhood with difficult circumstances. And in her school, she was held back 2 years in a row. Imagine that, in third grade. She was angry. Basically, her life was going to be designed as we always, the establishment in the schools basically say, it's not fair to measure our accountability based on a child like that. You can't change that life. Well, here's the deal. Because we worked together, we created the first and largest statewide voucher program in the country, the Opportunity Scholarship Program, and then the Corporate Tax Scholarship Program, and the program for the McKay Scholarship as well. The most ambitious effort to reform and open up our schools. And it was a fight. Trust me, I got scars on my forehead fighting these teachers' unions and others. It was a mighty struggle, but we won. And Denisha's godmother found out about the Corporate Tax Scholarship Program and got her into a Christian school in Jacksonville. And she overcame this. I know what happened. I just sense this. The first week, I bet you that her teacher put her arm around this little child, angry as you could imagine, and said, God loves you. I love you. You're capable. You can do this. You're smart. And she overcame those 2 years of being held back. And she was the first in her family to graduate from high school and college, and now she's getting a master's. Look, I tell you these stories because it's not about the big personalities on the stage. It's not about who can give the great quip. It's not about that. It's about building a society that is loving, that is caring, that is aspirational, where people believe, again, in the American dream, where they have the tools to achieve earned success their own way. And the interaction of all of us together in our uniquely personal ways creates more prosperity, more creativity, more innovation, more solving problems than any government program ever created. That's what we have to believe, and that's how we'll win. So if you're looking for a candidate that has a proven record, a conservative record of cutting taxes each and every year, shrinking the government, challenging the things that were broken, rolling up the sleeves and fixing them, eliminating the things that were no longer necessary, making government grow far slower than personal income, I'm your guy. But if you also want a candidate to take on Hillary Clinton and the progressive left and their notion that it's all about top-down, it's always from Washington, it's always another rule, another tax, another spending program, I can win this because I've campaigned all across this state and all across this country with my arms wide open, with joy in my heart, expressing a belief of the greatness of this country, and restoring the foundational aspects of our country should be our mission. It's how we win, and it's going to be how I govern. Thank you all very much. We love you. Thank you.